well, I want to talk a little bit more about how these two teams are going to be matching up against themselves. Obviously, Kraken have been looking fantastic going into that first series. However, G2, they've been sitting back, relaxing, and watching that first series. They've been watching Kraken play. So there's a little bit of an information advantage there going towards the side of G2. How significant do we feel that is coming into this second series of the day?
I don't think it's going to be incredibly significant because what we saw out of Kraken is there wasn't anything crazy unique from them. There wasn't anything, off the wall from Kraken. It was very much kind of standard Vainglory, which is, you don't gain a whole lot from just recognizing, okay, they know how to play the game well, they know how to draft and counterpick. Like, that's not an advantage that you can glean from it, but it does at least let you know that maybe you don't have to worry about some off-the-wall picks. Maybe you can just, again, focus on your own game, focus on playing what G2 has been doing all season long.
All right, so we've talked a tiny bit about off-the-wall picks there, but I want to rein it back to talking about the draft and what we're actually expecting to see picked up during this series here. We've seen a little bit from Kraken what they like to play here, but we know historically what G2 like to play. How are we expecting this draft to come out? Because that's going to be starting in a couple of minutes now. We're just about ready to get on into this series. What is the anticipation coming in?
Yeah, Kraken draft is actually a little unpredictable. I mean, they banned Baron and they banned Lorelei. I mean, their draft is kind of left and right, and it's based on opening up power picks. If you don't ban the top power picks like Rona, Blackfeather, Vox, for example, they secured the Rona and the BF, and that's an extremely strong composition you don't want to give any team. And the fact that they drafted that when were able to get that draft just shows how calculating and how strong they are with their entire draft strategy.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a few very contested picks, and the Rona, the Vox, the Blackfeather also, just because Rhyme has been nerfed and that's off the table for Dark Potato, his next go-to is going to be either the Cruel or the Blackfeather. Yep. Both are heroes that we saw Kraken play very, very well. So it's very true when we say that these hero pools between the two teams are very similar, and it's going to be just a savage fest in the draft.
Savage fest in the draft. I'm very excited to see that. The draft will be starting momentarily. What do you expect to see here, Tasty Bacon?
I'm expecting to see our first Lance of the tournament come out here because it's a pick that G2 plays a lot, and because the hero pools are so similar, that's one of the few picks that they have that is a little bit more unique to G2 than maybe some of the other teams coming out. And again, you need to, if both teams are very similar in play style, you need to have something that's a little bit unique to yourselves to get that little bit of an edge.
All right, we'll see if they can get that edge. Now, you mentioned the Lance. I did ask them about Weapon Power Lance this morning over breakfast. It's not likely to be seen. I have to break that one to you guys, unfortunately. But they did say, I asked Dark Potato, he did say, if there's a situation where it can work, they may well pick it up. So it is still going to be a pocket pick for them. I wouldn't hold your breath, though. Don't get too excited about the Weapon Power Lance.
If we see a Lance, I would still expect it to be a Captain Lance. I would not expect it to be the Weapon Lance for Dark Potato. But I do think a Lance should come out in this series.
I don't expect a Lance from Kraken, though, because I looked at the past 10 games and in their VG8, they actually prefer Arden and Lyra over Lance. And even Lorelei actually is a captain that they play very well.
Here we go, Chun Walker, going to be the first ban of the draft coming on through here as we are into our second series of the day. Blackfeather is the answer from Kraken.
So Rona should be picked up here, or potentially Lyra. So Lyra will be picked up, and that leaves Rona open.
Lyra is the pick. It's just, we talk about the Lance. It's a matter of 2.10 meta, however, and Trimwalker, Lyra, Lorelei, even Arden are so much more stronger than the Lance. I like the anticipation. Tasty Bacon, unfortunately, it's not going to come out for G2 at least.
What do we think of this Vox first pick? This is very early for a Vox
I love the Vox first pick and banning the Baron, because Baron actually counters Vox, especially when he gets that range and he gets to the late game. He actually counters Vox, and he's known to counter Vox. So that's a very smart ban by Kraken there.
It also puts G2 in kind of a tough spot here now, because while G2 may want the Celeste for themselves, there is that opportunity for Kraken to pick up a jungle Celeste with the Weapon Vox in the lane. So they are going to ban away the Lorelei here just to be safe on that captain pick. But Arden is still available for Kraken, so I don't think they're going to mind.
Yeah, I was going to say the Arden is still available. They're either going to pick that or secure another very strong top priority pick and take that away from G2 and then save their roam pick for the last pick so that they can counter with the Fortress possibly like they did against Detonation if necessary.
can see Kraken on the screen there discussing the potential picks
Yeah,
available
Arden.
to them here. Arden will be the lock-in in the end. They seem happy with that one, and reasonably so. Arden, incredibly strong captain in the match.
So G2 now, they can play Celeste. I mean, they can pick up the Celeste here because Celeste will win against Vox in the late game, but that opens up a lot of dive potential for Kraken. They can pick like a Taka, but then again, you have Lyra to protect that Celeste, and maybe potentially Cruel Celeste could be a strong combo
Celeste
here.
Kroll, I think, would be a
Yeah.
great combo for G2 to grab.
Yeah, no, I mean, Kraken played it last series, so they could go for that. The other thing that's also open is the Kestrel for G2. Hundor plays it so incredibly well, but it has been nerfed
Yeah.
in 2.10. The damage, the base damage was nerfed quite heavily on the Glimmer Shot. Instead, it has piercing. So against squishier targets, it does less. Against durable targets, when you have enough weapon power, it does more.
All right, we'll see if that's something that could be a pocket pick maybe for G2, or whether they go on something a little bit more staple. I'm curious to see where they do go with this draft. Obviously, Lyra, very versatile as a first pick, so a lot of different directions that you can go with that one. But I wouldn't be too surprised to see them go with something towards that late game focus.
Yeah, some comps they can run with Lyra, like Samuel Lyra is extremely strong. That's something, it's a very popular jungle duo in East Asia actually, because of Samuel's sustain from his heroic perk. On top of that, you have Lyra's heal as well, which makes him super strong, especially at sieging turrets. So that's something maybe G2 can run, because I know Dark Potato does like Samuel every now and then.
So I believe the sides were swapped on the graphic there.
Oh.
So I believe it should be Kraken on the A side for this game. So
That would actually make quite a bit of sense. Because, I mean, the first pick Lyra, just as they did against the Nation Gaming, Kraken going for the same sort of strategy in the draft.
yeah,
It does mean, though, G2 were banning away that Baron, though, after picking a Vox, which maybe looking at the Kraken draft and saying, hey, banning Baron doesn't seem like too bad of an idea.
Yeah, because Baron is just does so much damage. Once he gets 2 to 3 weapon power items, he actually counters the Vox because of the range, and his jump allows him to basically be able to pew and jump away from a Vox diving into him.
All right, well, we'll see how this draft will continue once we'll be able to bring that back up on your screens.
Kraken have a very clear advantage in the draft right now, however. They have the Lyra already against the Vox and the Arden. I mean, Vox has a very low range, and Arden doesn't really provide that much when it comes to poking and playing against longer range compositions. So if Kraken does close out their, or round out their composition with something like the Celeste that they did last series, they will have the same sort of advantage in just playing with the longer range composition, keeping their distance from their opponents and capitalizing on power spikes.
All right, we'll see if a longer range composition is something that they do lean towards. I'm very curious to see how this first one goes. Honestly, this is one of the most important, in fact, I mean, you've only got 4 games right here. So G2 right now, this is a quarter of their time in the tournament if they can't get those wins on the board. Kraken are already looking fantastic. Kraken, they basically just need to win 1 game, and they are well in with a shot of making it out of this group. So G2, the onus is on them to make sure that they can take priority in this series.
Yeah, a pocket pick that we could potentially see, and they played, is some Saul. So if they play Saul into a Vox, Vox will lose that early game really hard. But oh, they're going to go with Celeste, and Glaive is showing up here. He did get a slight buff in 2.10, so it's great to see him come back.
It's actually one of the picks that I've been looking forward to. I hope it gets picked up more and more just because the buff is quite significant. He got more lifesteal on his ultimate stacks, as well as higher crit chance on his B ability once he levels it up.
The thing I'm going to be really interested in, though, is Dark Potato on the Batiste. This is not a pick that we associate with Dark Potato very frequently, so they're going to be bringing this one out onto the fold for us here.
As a Batiste one trick, though, I can certainly approve of that pick. It could spell some bad mojo for Kraken. But what do we think of these compositions then? How is this one going to be playing out? Obviously, Glaive Celeste, we've talked about CC chains in the past. That can be a devastating combination. Do we think that Kraken have got what it takes to take down G2? Or are Europe going to be making their mark here?
I absolutely do think they have what it takes, because the Vox, the Batiste work very well if they were trying to kite away. But against the Celeste, just because they have a range advantage, they will need to dive in and try to take her out, which I think as a composition, they're not going to be very effective at doing.
A lot of it's going to depend on the timing of the sigils coming out from the Lyra, because while, yes, the damage does need to ramp up for the side of G2, there's still a lot of burst that can come out. If the sigils get used too early, all of a sudden those empowered bad mojos come out. If you don't have the healing available for that, then the team fight's just lost.
Kraken went hands down. Celeste counters Batiste because of her range, and Vox as well, in the late game especially. Glaive can peel, Lyra's a good peel as well. Kraken's going to take this game.
All right, well, it's about time that we got on into this game and find out for ourselves who's going to be able to take this one. It's Europe's first game. It's Kraken's second series. Let's pass it to the casters and get on into this one.
Thank you very much, guys. Once again, G2 stepping onto the fold now, up against the victorious Kraken, who just took down Detonation Gaming 2-0. They're going to be riding on a high. Can G2 knock them off their pedestal?
Now, I know G2 were talking about building compositions around Arden, building compositions around Lyra. They have the Arden this time round. We know Hundor is an incredible Vox. And Dark Potato, I asked Dark Potato, because a lot of people have criticized him based on kind of what he can play. I said, what do you want to play in the jungle going into Worlds? He's like, you know, Batiste, I want to play anything that I usually play, Cruel. But Batiste was a big one for him, so he's managed to get his hands on that. It's definitely something that can shut down the Glaive. Glaive comes in for an afterburn, you use your Ordained, Glaive goes out of the afterburn and gets stunned at the end of it, so he doesn't manage to get that hit off, which is really important. So Batiste is a really good pick for Dark Potato going into this game. I am a European caster, you're a European caster. There's going to be a little bit of sort of encouragement, I would say, from us. I really do want to see Europe do well here, but Kraken have looked incredible in their first series. G2 have a very big challenge on their hands.
The battle for the Halcyon
Kraken were
Fold
already
has
going to be
begun.
a big surprise coming into this one. We mentioned it in their series versus Detonation, but we are in the second series, and they are versus G2 this time, the pride of Europe. Game number 1 is underway.
I'm wondering what Babala is going to build, just simply because Hundor has been playing a bit of Glaive in the lane specifically, and he went for a Serpent's Mask into Breaking Point build quite often. It gave him a lot of sustain. Remember, 2.10 is where Glaive's sustain was kind of brought back. Look at this from Keanu. He's trying to delay the wave push or make the wave push in his favor, and that's going to give them more time in the jungle to react here. So it's going to allow his lane to have a slightly slow push, and that might actually force Mua to essentially respond to that lane push and maybe be forced away from this Elder Trion. That could be a really big deal for G2, because if they can get some pressure here early, forcing Mua into the lane because of that slow push, they're actually going to bring Vox up straight away, so it didn't make too much of a difference, but they're just trying to get an early push on here from
Got to say, I'm quite scared of Mua, and so should G2 be as well. He was such a cornerstone. Kraken. Oh, after that, from Babala in a little bit of trouble. Does manage to stun Keanu for the time being, but Dark Potato is here as well. He's shoving away and chucking out a couple of bad mojos. As soon as they start to get empowered, Dark Potato is going to dish out a whole bunch of damage, actually forcing Babala back there as well.
I like that G2 rotated up, expecting the early Glaive gank into a level 2 Celeste as well. No fights around the Elder Trion so far, so that's still standing. I'm not sure what Dark Potato actually used his Ordained on. I don't think he used it on the Glaive though. Again, though, it would have been difficult to get a kill regardless. They're just looking to put pressure on this Celeste early on. So Hundor and Keanu spending a lot of time in lane together, just looking to put pressure onto Celeste as much as physically possible. Again, trying to mount those waves, trying to put pressure on that first tier turret. And again, you know, like we saw from Detonation, what you really want to do is get that first tier turret early on and snowball off that against the Celeste. You don't want to let her build up that item builds that get towards the 3 or 4 items.
Well, look at this starting itemization here from Hundor as well. Maybe they look for a small engage again. Oh, Babala doesn't quite find anything. Did have the speed up from the Sigil, but Hundor did back off rather sharpish. He's got the Sonic Zoom as well, so something to keep in mind. But he's gone for those Bookie Eulogies, and with the shielding as well, just determined to stay alive in the lane, especially in the early game, because if Mua gets fed like he did versus Detonation, it will be bad news for G2.
Well, that's a really intelligent buy from Hundor, because it's a difficult laning phase for Vox. He's got a very short range. Celeste can actually contest with her Heliogenesis, which isn't usually possible for Celeste early on. So Hundor just doesn't want to get caught by too many supernovas here. Still CSing very well. Mr. Dog's going to get caught out.
Ordained on Mr. Dog. Does pop the flask as well as that Bright Bulwark, so that's actually a big cooldown here. Not for too much gain either. He was rather healthy and still had the Sigil to heal himself up.
Yeah, and it's going to go 1 versus 2 right now, playing super aggressive. Hundor working towards that Poison Shiv first. That is just an intelligent first buy against a Lyra and a Glaive. Glaive with the inbuilt sustain, and obviously Lyra with her sigils. You just need a Poison Shiv. It's kind of a necessary item against this kind of composition. And Vox is one of the only carries that can really make Poison Shiv work early on, especially as a core item build. So it's a good pick for Vox here into this composition.
Babala going fairly aggressive. Is he going to be able to get that Ordained? Nope. There's the Afterburn. There's the interaction you were talking about a minute ago with the Ordained as well. Does stun himself up, but there was no real follow-up there from G2, so he just goes back to his own jungle. Not too much gained in that front, but still being fairly aggressive, which is what Team Kraken have been doing time and time again.
I like the flexibility of the glaive hit pick here, by the way, because obviously there is that potential for early aggression. We saw Babala looking for that. We saw Babala trying to get into the lane and put pressure onto Hundor. But as the game progresses, he can turn into a bit more of a peeling machine. You know, he's going to be looking to just use those afterburns to peel away for the Celeste, and Mua will take over as that primary carry. So that gives a lot of flexibility to this composition from Team Kraken. The only problem they're going to have is if the afterburn doesn't work out, you don't have the ability to reduce damage like the Cruel does. And Glaive isn't, I think, as much of a threat in that case, especially if he doesn't particularly go for a heavy impact build, as the Cruel would have been. So G2 are going to be up against a slightly easier variant of this composition from Team Kraken, I believe.
Clockwork now finished from Nua as well. That's his first item.
He just likes to go that to clear waves. Like you just go that early on, you get the energy regen, the cooldown reduction, you look to clear waves, clear those waves, meaning that the first turret is harder to take. Yeah,
Babala has actually picked up that tension bow as well. So with that first power spike for him, we saw what those core collapses can do if someone gets caught out. But Hundor is going to be protected in the lane by Keanu and Dark Potato. Now, G2 are very, very focused on Hundor up in that lane to do very well. They're very good at just exploiting that lane and being able to put Hundor in a position where he can carry. Baron's one of his favorite heroes, was actually banned out by G2 here, but on this Vox is going to become quite a menace in the late game. His mobility, his ability to actually dodge in and out of these team fights and around the Heliogenesis is going to be quite big. Tension Bow proc onto Hundor, does about a third of his HP, but that'll be Team Kraken now just backing off.
Yeah, again, they just need to be careful here. Hundor doesn't want to get into too many fights versus an early tension bow from the Glaive. And what I really like about this build from the Glaive is it acts as an escalator. Glaive with a tension bow is going to be threatening for the next minute or so, minute or two maybe, going up towards 10 minutes. That provides time where you have at least one threatening carry position from Team Kraken as Celeste starts to scale up. I like to call it this, like I said, I like to call it the elevator type style of build, where you have one person that's threatening for a bit, and then the person that comes into the late game, when you get to the top of the elevator, that's the person that you really have to worry about. So it kind of gives this transition phase for Team Kraken.
Yeah, Team Kraken, like you mentioned a minute ago, are going to be able to shove these waves just because Mua did pick up that Clockwork is his first item. And with that short range on the Vox, Hundor's having a little bit of a tricky time here. He's not even behind in CS at this point, actually, even.
No, but the thing is, because Team Kraken have essentially left Lyra in lane the entire time, Lyra and Celeste, they're just going to have that sustain necessary, especially once the Clockwork is finished, to just consistently shove waves in. And Celeste's wave clear and wave shove is always going to be better than Vox's because of the Supernova. Vox can push back quite quickly himself, but, you know, in general, you're going to find that Mua is going to have the easier time. They're committing a lot of resources here to lane, though, and it's been quite quiet. We're very respectful. I mean, the gold is almost exactly even between these two teams.
Yeah, big pickups here, though, from Dark Potato. That's got the Infusion and the Shatter Glass now on board, so he can pop that whenever he wants to, but Babala's got exactly the same. Picked up the Infusion not a minute and a half ago, so again, kind of even in that respect, but Hundor picking up that breaking point as well as that poison shift. Got a lot of attack speed and sustain in the lane, so he's going to be able to just counter shove Mua in now.
It's just item spike after item spike, and no team really finding the opportunity to utilize that. Babala hasn't quite found the prime afterburns that he's looking for, but they have got position in this lane. Have G2 been slightly out-rotated here? Keanu has to be very aggressive with his positioning.
Does, and he's only level 5. There's the Ordained. It's going to actually stun up the Glaive for the time being. Brightball is going to get laid down as well. Kraken, known for their early aggression in the jungle, in fact, has only really found 1 to 2 camps. Babala not really been the most to Miwa, but it's not going to matter, he's scoundrel. Keanu's going to go down. That core collapse from Mua just destroyed G2.
Mua is absolutely ridiculous on Celeste. It is unbelievable how good this guy is. Solar Storm's on point, Core Collapse is on point, Supernova's on point. Can this guy do anything wrong?
No.
Yeah, exactly, no. I mean, Hundor is one of his best picks. Hundor is considered one of the best Voxes in the EU, maybe alongside Techno JJ, but he's considered one of the best Voxes in the region. He looks like he's going for a Tyrant's Monocle build. I'm wondering whether he has to now double down and go for a double Tyrant's Monocle build to have any chance of putting pressure onto Celeste in the backline. The problem is, you look at the Glaive, and that opens him up to get pressured out like he did in that last fight. The thing that I think is really important to note is Babala with a tension bow and a breaking point. It might not seem significant damage, but it is significant enough to afterburn onto Hundor and shove him out of the fight. That is important because Hundor is the only person that is going to get to the back line and pressure Mua. So essentially Babala says you're getting nowhere near Mua, and Hundor has to respect that because he hasn't got any armor right now. It will be very telling as to whether Hundor builds armor last or goes for the double Tyrant's Monocle build alongside the breaking point and poison shift.
Now Team Kraken is showing their aggression, just pushing into the jungle of G2. Got complete control of the lane and have opened up the base as well. 2 turrets remain on the side of G2, and they're on the wrong side of the map right now. Not where you want to be, especially as Team Kraken. They've got so many items on board and even infusions coming through as well.
Triple infusion. That's you had to force the infusion out of Dark Potato. Hundor doesn't currently have it at the end. There's the infusion for him. He had to pick that up.
Helio Genesis being popped. Nice Crucible coming through from Dark Potato. In fact, that was actually his own reflex block. That was a block the afterburn for the time being. G2 finally swap around.
Keanu hasn't even got his Crucible yet. He prioritized War Treads because he thinks that the movement speed is either necessary to kite away or dive the Celeste. The only reason you'd go War Treads before any other core items is that movement speed is imperative to the way that you want to play these fights. That spells to me that they are looking to use that movement speed off the back of a gauntlet to dive onto Celeste as quickly as possible. There is the Minion's Foot from Hundor. It is going to be a full ham double Tyrant's Monocle build coming out from Vox. This is designed to do maximum damage. I don't know if G2 are going to be able to contest this Kraken. This is going down super quickly. It's going to be explosive.
Oh, Hundor's going to have to get in there. Bright Bulwark stops it for the time being. The wave break comes through. And G2 steal the Kraken. Gauntlet comes out.
Crazy.
3 as well. There's some shade. Mua's going down so low, but the core collapse was good. G2, they find 2 as the Glaive ends up falling. Double kill for Hundor, and he steals the Kraken.
Just when everything seemed lost for G2, Hundor, the savior of Europe, comes in, solo steals the Kraken, and then they rush down. That was unbelievably beautiful. That was a wonderful steal into a triple gauntlet, into Dark Potato locking up Mua on the side lanes, both with his Ordained and then into his Fearsome Shade as well. I mean, I think Mua cast about 2 spells that entire team fight. G2 have suddenly put themselves right back into contention despite being a significant amount of gold behind.
They're going to be able to take 2 turrets as well. G2 finally backing off, almost evening the turret kills. Team Kraken's base not quite opened up just yet, but G2, they're going to be able to ravage the jungle.
The problem I think G2 are going to have is they need those abilities to be up every single time they want to fight. They cannot fight in the space of the cooldowns of the things like the Gauntlet and the Fearsome Shade, because unfortunately, there is no way that you can run at this composition easily. You need to have that engage from the Arden to set things up. Hundor has just kept his team in the game for at least another, 5 or so minutes. Keanu's next big item spike is that Echo. I'm wondering whether G2 now hold off on the trigger until they get the Echo on the Gauntlet and have the opportunity then to create a space where it's very difficult for Mua to escape, especially with just that one reflex block.
Team Kraken now, they have got the wave shove advantage here at Scoundrel and 4 items on board for Mua as well. These team fights are so explosive and so quick as well, but Hundor's finished his build also. No tier 3 boots just yet, but he's got double monocle, he's got breaking point. They're going to have to force infusions because Team Kraken, once again, triple fusion for them.
Triple infusion from Team Kraken. You can see G2 realize that. They cannot fight right now. Hundor has to get that gold for an infusion. It is absolutely imperative to this next team fight. And I think Team Kraken are going to look to push this. When you've got an infusion, you push your advantage. It's a massive team fight tool that you're going to have over your opposition. And right now, G2 are not in a position to fight because none of their carries have those necessary infusions.
I'm just going to be able to find the gold, but Team Kraken can keep pushing them in, it will be able to just start the
There we
fight.
go, there we go.
There's the infusions coming out. One for Dark Potato, one for Hundor.
He needs 150 gold for Keanu to finish up his Echo. I think this is what G2 are holding off on. They're happy to let things go. Kraken hasn't respawned. Get that Echo, which I think Keanu is going to pick up in the next couple of seconds, and suddenly you're in a really good space to set up team fights where you can dive the Celeste. Team Kraken have done incredibly to get to this point now where, again, you have a hyper-farmed, hyper-fed Celeste still dominating these team fights. And I love the way that Babala is built to be a threat to Hundor, who has no armor. Hundor will always have to respect that afterburn coming out from Babala. There's the Echo from Keanu Nicole. We can see a fight now.
Keanu has got the Echo, but so has Mr. Dog. Now, once again, G2 and Team Kraken flipping the sides of the maps. There's the War Treads. There's the first gauntlet. Bright Bulwark doesn't quite land. Ordain's out. But look at Moore on the sidelines. Getting caught by the gauntlet. Fearsome Jay's going to find him as well. Another beautiful stun, but he's trying to peel back, but can't quite find it. Hundor finds the kill. Wait for it to silence Babala, and he's in a 2v1. Hundor's just chasing Mr. Dog away. Babala gets caught up in the Ordained. Hundor now just marching forward. His 5th kill of the game. Glaive gets out alive and uses the boots to get a bit of distance, but G2 have won the fight.
This might be a resonance for Hundor. He might be able to chase this down. Yes,
Babala's
he is.
going to go down. There's the ace for G2, and they're going to be able to break the base. And with Kraken online, this could be Team Kraken's last chance to secure this victory.
G2 found that recipe to get rid of the Celeste. Hundor's build has given him a full dive capability with critical strike damage against the no armor Celeste. Dark Potato, Keanu, they pop the gauntlet, they pop the War Treads, they rush the Celeste, they get the second gauntlet down, and Noah was stuck in no man's land. Babala and Mr. Dog tried to respond to that double gauntlet. They got stuck in that second gauntlet wall. They couldn't get there in time to save Noah. Oh, Hundor!
Hundor! Okay. Popping the boots. Moore goes fairly low, but it's going to get healed up by Mr. Dog. He really wants to end this right here, right now.
He saw an opportunity. This is the kind of build that you can burst someone with. The double Terrence Monocle build. This, for me, is the best box build if you're not facing up against someone that's got a high weapon power damage output. This is the best 2.10 box build.
Well, the gauntlet has come up for Keanu, just needs to pull the trigger. He hasn't got Echo just yet, Scoundrel. They should just be able to secure this turret. Base turret's going to go down eventually. Dark Potato slinging bad mojos in. The gauntlet comes out. Hundor's on the wrong side of the fight for the time being. Mr. Dog is going to get stunned up. There's the Solar Storm. Keanu going extremely low. Pops the water to get a bit of distance. Hundor is just pounding away. Babala doesn't quite find anything. Fearsome Shade rattled through 3 members of Kraken as well. They should be able to secure and kill off the Kraken before it does any more damage.
Yeah, really wonderful defense. Again, Mua, I cannot stress how good this guy is with Celeste. Those core collapses are absolutely pinpoint perfect. Hundor could have blocked that, but I felt like in the sort of the grand scheme of things, taking that fight would have been bad for G2 regardless. You're right, I think Echo has to be up for G2 to find a successful fight here. One gauntlet is not enough to force enough movement with that reflex block from Mua. He's going to be able to get out of one gauntlet easy peasy. I think that was more of Keanu searching for an opportunity, but trying to non-committally go for a fight. Once that echoes up, I feel like, especially when the gauntlet comes back online, they will commit to a heavy fight here. Hundor's gone for the Halcyon charges as well. Going to give him a bit of cooldown reduction, allow him to dive a bit more frequently with Sonic Zoom.
Oh, hey, Keanu. He does have Echo up again, Scoundrel.
Piercing Spear coming out from Babala. Means he's probably going to go towards a Bone Saw here to get through some of the armor that's built up on Dark Potato and Keanu. If he can't get onto Hundor and pressure him, he at least wants to maintain his pressure against these carries that are starting to stack the armor up now.
Yeah, Dark Potato's got a bit of armor on his side. Clockwork and Shatterglass, he's putting out a whole bunch of damage, but right now the main tool in his kit that's winning them the team fights is that Fearsome Shade after the stun comes through from the gauntlet. Is up and available. Keanu positioning. There's the War Treads. The gauntlet comes out. It stuns Mua, and he goes into the Ordain as well. Solar Storm's going to come through. This is going to get a big block from the Crucible. Another gauntlet comes down, and Mua ends up falling. That will be Mr. Dog using those War Treads to get a bit of distance, but Hundor's just going to chase him up. The passageway should sentence him to death. Dark Potato in a lot of trouble. Hundor finds himself the 2-piece. Dark Potato kiting back. Nice Ordain finds a stun on Babala. This could be it. Could be G2, but Babala picks up the kill onto Dark Potato and is 1v1ing Keanu. Hundor needs to get back into this fight, or this Glaive's just going to be able to clean them up. The wait for it's there, but Hundor's going to be able to find the ace.
Hundor is an absolute god. This guy has been given this reputation as one of the best laners in Europe for a reason. This is a completely different Europe from the Europes that we've seen at the Unified Western Live Championships. This is Europe that has a plan, this is Europe that can execute, and this is Europe that is about to take a game off one of the strongest teams in this group. And we saw Team Kraken just look absolutely perfect.
Crystal's going to fall, but not quite just yet. I mean, Hundo needs to just be able to kite around. He might just be able to do so. He does. The crystal has been shattered, and G2 take game number 1.
Unbelievable from G2. That was A, great turnaround, but B, execution was pinpoint perfect. You know, we talked about the Detonation Kraken game where execution was a little bit lackluster on both sides to an extent. Pinpoint perfect execution of team fights in the late game. They built itemized correctly. Hondo's itemized build was so good at diving Celeste. They itemized correctly on the Arden. They knew that when they had the Echo was when they could fight. G2, they are playing an incredible game. And for a team that self-admittedly has not had a huge amount of practice coming into Worlds, that looked very instinctual from them. Super instinctual from them. And they go 1-up in this series against Team Kraken.
And we know Hondo's one of the best carries in Europe as well. And he was really the cornerstone to G2 in that game.
But they said they wanted to build a composition and play around the Arden, and they played around the Arden so well. That was really, really good stuff.
Yeah, we are going to jump over to Munchables and the guys over on the Desto. They're going to break down that G2 win even further.
Well, Kraken looked incredibly strong in their first series of the day, but G2, after a rough early game, have come out swinging. And those late game team fights, it has to be said, every single member on G2 playing at their absolute best here. The mechanical skill coming out from these three players in the team fights, just phenomenal, it has to be said.
Yeah, it was amazing, especially at the 60-minute mark when they stole the Kraken, and things just completely turned around after that. And every fight after that, they focused on Mua. They're excellent gauntlets by Count. Like I said, the synergy between Count and Dark Potato really shined there, and Hunter was able to also focus on Celeste in a lot of fights. As soon as Mua was down, they lost every single team fight. Celeste didn't get off 2 ultimates in 2 key team fights that then swung the favor back into G2's lead, and then they took it away with the late game fights.
Yeah, let's take a look at the first replay. This was the moment where G2 got themselves back into the game. G2 are the red side in this replay.
Absolutely incredible gauntlet, again, coming out. This was the key to these fights, were these gauntlet ultimates from G2 to land those stuns onto Mua so that the team could just collapse onto the Celeste. Up until that point, this looked like it was going to be a Kraken game in the bag, easy 1, 2, 3, but what a turnaround by G2 to have the fortitude to stick with it.
And you have to bear in mind that G2 were pretty significantly behind at the start.
Exactly. I mean, the story of the game was very different before that Kraken steal, because it was Kraken that were actually dominating for the most part, pushing the objectives, winning the team fights. But the moment they got that Kraken steal, they pushed on, they got a turret, a little bit of the second as well, as far as damage. They were able to get enough gold to pick up the items they needed. Vox finished his second TM a little bit later on, but it's a matter of catching back into the game that allowed G2 to win it all.
Yeah, we can take a look at a team fight that happened just a few minutes later, and this was one of the team fights that was absolutely pivotal, not just in terms of this game, but honestly, it feels like this was the moment where G2 really had woken up. They were warmed into it, and this is the G2 that we're looking
And this was some hope,
a little dicey.
Some hope for Glaive here, because he has breaking point tension, but where he's getting some stacked. But in the end, it wasn't enough, and they were able to
This was
the
a
game.
heart pounder right here, though. Luckily, Hundo had his silence, because this could have, if there was an afterburn available, that could have been a very different fight.
It's actually possible. I mean, even with the Vanguard coming through, Glaive's damage is very high, but the biggest thing to note as well is before that replay and the team fight before, G2 managed to stall just enough until they picked up the Echo. That was so detrimental and was so impactful in those team fights, because then they were able to lock in the Celeste so that Vox could focus her and take her down.
I also want to take a moment to talk about the Vox build for a minute here. The breaking point double monocle with a poison chip thrown in for good measure. But this is a build that we saw fade away for quite some time. now starting to make a resurgence on 2.10 just because of the flat damage, the raw damage you get out, and how quickly you're able to stack up. We talked about in the previous series up against the Celeste, the ramp up damage. You don't want to have that full ramp damage, but when you have the double monocle, you ramp up so quickly that it's not really a detriment any longer.
Yeah, and attack speed from Breaking Point and Poison Shift too just worked out really well. You can see how fast Celeste's health just dropped as Hunter just, landing 4 auto attacks with the Sonic Zoom. Celeste just didn't stand a chance 1v1.
And this is what I was expecting. Hundor is such an incredible player coming out of Europe. He always is the main carry for this team, and the team plays around him so well. I had them winning this group. Now going up against Kraken, who dominated the Nation Gaming.
Yeah.
They're taking the first game. G2 could seriously do it.
G2 are looking fantastic off the back of that first game. I do want to shout out Mua as well. Mua, especially in the first half of that game, was playing exceptionally. His Celeste so far, even though they lost that game, I still feel like he's making a serious message here saying, maybe you need to just ban my Celeste every game, because he is terrifying on that carry.
And again, keep in mind, up until the 16-minute mark, this was Kraken's game to lose. They still looked very, very strong. Obviously, yes, we want to talk about how great G2 was down the stretch, but up until that point, Kraken had this game under their control. This was not a cakewalk for G2 by any means.
Other side of that coin, though, that was kind of classic G2. Get to the late game, win the team fights. Let's get into game number 2, though. We've got a Black Feather as the first ban coming out from G2 Esports.
Yeah, and I wonder if Kraken's going to take away the Vox here and not give G2 Vox, because they played Vox so well. They're going to go ahead and ban the Lyra. So these Arden open, and Arden actually was the key playmaker in the last game. And I think G2 will probably pick up the Arden here.
This also leaves Chernwalker open. It's something that's been banned almost every single game is up to this point. Now it's open. Will G2 prioritize it?
And it was Chernwalker and Lyra that were the 2 heavy priorities. One of them has been let through.
It'll be interesting, though, because in the regular season, very few European teams were willing to try the Chernwalker. So they still put the priority on the Arden. Now I'm curious as to if Kraken will go that route or not. No, they want the Rona.
Ban Vox, yeah. They're going to take Rona, ban Vox, and that leaves Chernwalker open. Also, Fortress is also open, and Rona and Fortress works out really well in this competition. They actually take away Talk because they want to play Sky, but Kraken's fine with that. Now they can take, they have the Fortress still open as a last pick if they want to.
They've already beaten a Sky with this Rona. That happened at the very start of the day.
The thing is, they did have a Black Feather to do that. This time, they don't have the Black Feather available to them, and Black Feather works so well against the Sky because you can stick to her fairly easily.
Probably going to pick up Baptiste, I believe, and then maybe potentially last pick the Fortress if the Sky gets picked
Lorelei
up.
is still open.
And Lorelei is also open, too. And they also play Jungle Lorelei, which is actually very strong in this meta if played correctly. So let's see if that gets picked up. Chernwalker is taken there. Wow, that's scary.
The Chernwalker with the Rona is just very, very strong as well, keeping people in place for a red mist that's getting split and multiplied across the entire team. That you just delete. You're also just absolutely deleted if you're stuck in that.
An extra bonus part of that is the red mist. Not only is it going to heal Rona, it's also going to heal Chernwalker for the whole time. So you've got a huge amount of sustain coming out from this composition as well.
It's definitely a very strong composition. The question now is going to be what G2 will try to draft to counter this very obvious composition that's already been picked up by Kraken. The Vox is already taken away. Sky is available. They banned the Taka. Sky works really well against Chernwalker as well because he can dice around him and dodge his hook and chains.
And the other great thing about this Kraken draft is they still have a counter pick available for the jungle too. So they have done a phenomenal job in this Game 2 draft.
Yeah, Crow gets picked up here. They may potentially go with a CP Sky or a Celeste, but that is extremely risky.
Celeste would be so risky against the Rona especially.
Yeah, it would be pretty risky, but at the same time, it's Hundor on Celeste. His positioning with that hero is impeccable.
Oh, it's a Gwen.
It's a Gwen.
CP Gwen. She was buffed in this meta. She actually has 36% damage per second buff from 2.9 to 2.10. And late game, she is really, really hard to get on because of her skedaddle. Also is on lower cooldown as well from the buff. So now Kraken needs to really think about this pick here. They need to basically secure the early game because Crow and Gwen are weak in the early game. Chernwalker, very strong.
Not only that, but with the skedaddle, you see the chain coming from Chernwalker and you skedaddle at the right time, you block it being put on you. And that puts the chains on cooldown for Chernwalker, and all of a sudden he's useless for the next 4 seconds. So that interaction could be crucial.
And 4 seconds doesn't sound like a long time. In the middle of a team fight, 4 seconds is an eternity. So that can be an absolute game changer.
On a bigger picture, the Gwen pick here is to just keep the distance away from the Rona. Play to your poke advantage that comes with your buckshot and just try to kite away. Once she gets her Shatterglass, when she gets her Clockwork, later on as she scales into the late game, G2's down position is going to be so strong.
Man, that's such a hard counter into the Cruel. This early game, it looks very nasty for G2.
At the same time, though, if this is a CP Gwen, CP Gwen destroys those Petal Munions. One buckshot takes out all 3 of them, and Petal becomes a potato.
This has been easily the most entertaining draft so far on this championship. I cannot wait to get on into this one. This feels like it's a difficult one to predict how this one's going to go, but once again, I feel like I've said this 1,000 times. G2 are looking towards the late game in this match.
I mean, they're looking towards the late game. Kraken will try to pressure as much as they can throughout the early game, but if they're not able to capitalize enough on the power spikes, get enough of a lead to try and close out the game, the CP Gwen will come back. However, it's not something that Hundor has played too much of in the past, so that could also hurt G2 there.
All right, we'll have to see. Well, is there any argument to this being a weapon power Gwen, or could it be a double weapon composition where we see a Bone Saw coming out from the Crawl, or is that just something that we'll definitely not be seeing?
You could see it here, but I don't think it would be the best case scenario because of the Petal, especially. Okay. Before the Petal pick, I was actually going to say maybe it ends up being a weapon Gwen, but with the Petal coming out, I do not think you can go that route.
All right, we'll have to see. I'm kind of expecting it to be that CP Gwen anyway, coming on into this one. But the Rona Churnwalker, that alone, even without the Petal, feels exceptionally strong. Is that strong enough on its own just to mean that Kraken should take this?
It's extremely strong. Rona's going to build a Serpent with Breaking Point, way too much sustain. And then Petal has Frostburn as well, potentially with Churnwalker and the hook and the chain, the pull, the stun. That is a deadly combo that Kraken can execute on G2 here.
All right, well, it's time to get into game number 2 of this series. It's time to see if G2 can push this to a 2-0, or if Kraken are going to get their 3rd win of the tournament on the board. It's time to pass it over to our casters and get into game number 2.
Very much, guys. Jaws Next Scoundrel back once again. G2 versus Team Kraken. We're ready to get into it. G2 looked also one-sided Team Kraken's way at the start of that game, but turned around with the Kraken still coming out from Hundor. A triple kill, and the ace sealed the deal.
I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I feel a bit of EU euphoria coming on. You know? I'm genuinely excited to see EU actually win something, though. You know, that's always a good feeling.
EU Scoundrel.
I think what the guys are talking about on the desk is you know, obviously the combination between Churnwalker and Rona is super strong. You really can't get much more of a powerful combination between the two of them. You pull them into the red mist. Petal can't go Frostburn because it doesn't work with her Munions anymore. So she's going to have to go something along the lines of maybe Dragon's Eye, Shatterglass that we often see. So that kind of reduces a little bit of the efficacy. You can go Frostburn for the spontaneous combustion, obviously, but that's a very small part of your kit. What I think G2's game plan is going to have to be is if they want to survive this Rona and Churnwalker composition, it's just literally get Gwen to the late game, spam A from range, and never ever get into range of hooks. That's kind of their win condition, I think.
We're about to find out as we jump onto the fold. G2 versus Team Kraken. Can they find themselves a 2-0, or can Kraken tie the series up?
Kraken are an incredibly good team. We saw that against Detonation. And this is a composition that we know they can potentially execute on. It's got a lot of great team fight mechanics. And obviously we know that they've got great team synergy. Look at Keanu, just pops that scout trap nonchalantly. And he's going to head back towards his own side. They are going to go straight, and they're going to rotate in to out. So they're actually going to rotate from the Elder Tree on out. The problem with this is it sometimes does open you up to be invaded, especially as you might not hit level 2 before you finish up your back camps. Doesn't look like G2 are in a position to actually get to that, though. They're going to be quite slow on their rotation here because you do have a Cruel, so...
Yeah, Keanu actually moving straight up to the lane. Just going to meet Mr. Dog. Does actually miss the chains. Feels bad, man. But Keanu will be able to just shield himself with that Vanguard. Hundor's going to rotate as well. Obviously going Crystal Power this game. Started with a Weapon Blade and a Crystal Bit in his infantry just to help him CS for the time being. Yeah. Now, I love seeing Crystal Gwen because quadruple Shatterglass, one-shotting somebody, it's not going to happen, but I always want to see it.
Quadruple Shatterglass, what are you talking about, Jaws? No, I think the builds from CP Gwen vary quite heavily. I think Shatterglass is fine. The problem is that we're on 2.10 Dragon's Eye, so you can't maintain Dragon's Eye stacks easily as the CP Gwen. Looks like it's going to be the second rotation from Team Kraken getting that Elder Tree on there. But I think you probably go Shatterglass into Clockwork, then go into Broken Myth, and maybe pick up whatever you like at the end. You can go Eve of Harvest, you can go another Shatterglass, or you can, like I said, there's plenty of other options for you. But again, a lot of this is going to be about getting Hundor to that position in the late game where he can just spam A from range, prevent Team Kraken from getting anywhere near him. That's really important. A lot of this is going to come down to preventing Team Kraken actually getting close to him. If Team Kraken get close to him, that's bad news for Hundor.
Hundor's in a lot of trouble at the moment as well, but Mura takes a lot of damage in return. Hundor just sending one of those buckshots his way. Mr. Dog's going to be able to sustain up in this lane. Churnwalker, that's been banned so heavily already today, has finally made his way onto the fold. It's exciting to see too, because we've seen how good Team Kraken are at layering CC. If he gets a good trespass into a red mist, that'll be G2 just getting annihilated.
I love how Keanu knows that Arden has got such early, strong dueling potential. Every time Blood for Blood's up, he Blood for Blood's in, Vanguards himself, starts whacking them in the face. It's really hard to out-duel an Arden early on. So I think doing a good job there from Keanu. Going to be Hundor heading back. He's going to head towards what I think is going to be a Shatterglass. It could be a Frostbear, but I very much doubt it. I think it's very much likely going to be a Shatterglass coming out first here from Hundor. Hit them hard, hit them with a hell of a lot of damage.
Hit them hard, hit them early.
I was going to mention something I was about to say and I forgot, and now I've just remembered. I talked to G2 about Churnwalker. I asked G2 whether they felt that Churnwalker was a priority pick. They said, we think we can play into Churnwalker. We think we have tactics that deal with Churnwalker. This is the test. This is the test to see if they have what everyone else seems to consider the best captain in the meta right now.
That damage onto Mura. He's going to have to back off. Has got a little bit more sustain this kit now. We'll be going towards that Serpent's Mask, you can imagine. But G2 now, they kind of have to play a little bit scared as Babala is going to hitting that level 6 rather soonish. Level 5 coming up quite soon. And we know Team Kraken like to go fairly aggressive. That's exactly what they're doing here, taking away some of the fronts from G2. Babala has had all of the Elder Treants to himself as well, so accelerating himself ahead of Dark Potato.
Yeah, he's getting himself a slightly ahead in experience, which obviously is great. Want to hit that level 6 as quickly as possible on Petal to have the impact in the team fights with that spontaneous combustion. He looks like he's heading towards a Shatterglass of his own. That's generally, that or Dragon's Eye is generally the go-to first items for Petals in the current meta. So we'll see where he chooses to finish that up. I imagine Dark Potato will go towards a Poison Shiv. You're just against a Rona, it makes sense. And with the pickup of the Blazing Salvo there, yeah, I imagine it's going to be the case.
Seems so. And now the turret pressure. Ooh, Torment. Hundor's going to be able to get out of there, no worries. That Skedaddle as well is going to be fairly important to Hundor, although Roy taking a lot of damage. The trampoline coming in from Babala is going to send him backwards. Nice Torment actually again from Mr. Dog. Is going to send G2 packing for the time being. Hundor actually had to blow his flask as well in that engagement just to make sure they couldn't jump on him. Dog so tanky when he has a couple of members chained up.
Yeah, Hundor I think got hit by a hell of a lot of damage from the Petal there, so has to be very careful about his positioning. There we go, he's coming in.
He's coming in. Hundor still taking a lot of damage. He's going to be able to clear those minions fairly easily with his passive. However, that turret is so low already. Dark Potato moving in. He's just focusing that turret for the time being. Into the fray, straight out of the fight. Mr. Dog as well, kiting backwards, popping that flask as well. Team Kraken with the first turret on the board.
This is so good from Team Kraken. They realize they have to essentially force the issue against the CP Gwen. And actually at this point, Hundor doesn't have the best wave clear in the world. He's really just at not even a first tier 3 item. Gwen comes online on the CP path when you've got at least 3 to 4 items, and Team Kraken knew, hey, we have a really great potential to siege a turret here. They can't really respond, they can't really clear the wave easily. Let's just take the turret, and they won't be able to do anything about it. So they did that, and obviously have been rewarded for it. And you need to push the issue against the CP Gwen. If CP Gwen gets to 3 items, you basically will never find the opportunity to engage. So it's all up to Kraken to take the initiative.
Yeah, that it is, and they've been doing that just far as well. Dark Potato picking up his first item. That's the Poison Shiv on board. So sustain is the name of the game, especially when you're against someone like Mura, who does have that Serpent's Mask as well. He is level 6, and with Mr. Dog approaching that as well. In fact, he's just dinged it, and even the Dragon's Eye on Babala. They are ready to rumble.
So there, we talked about what you'd potentially expect from the Petal, looking for elongated fights, looking to have maximum impact till the end. G2 is going to try and respond to this.
Oh, into the fray, straight on top of Hundor, using that Skedaddle to get away. The Vanguard on him as well. There's the Aces High, does land the stun onto the Petal, but it doesn't matter. That Gold Mine is still chunking away at Mua. However, he is going to be able to shrug that damage off. Mr. Dog just so tanky in the front line, had a couple of members chained up. That'll be the gold miner getting taken over by Mua. Can't really trade too much more. The Aces High was good, but they just didn't have the follow-up.
They don't have the damage right now. Gwen is not supposed to be a teamfight skirmish brawler. Gwen is supposed to be the anti-teamfight pick. If you never want to teamfight, you never want to have a skirmish, you never want to get involved in a brawl, you pick Gwen and you spam A from range before the teamfight happens. The problem is if you get locked up in a teamfight, you are in a position where Gwen does not function well as a CP carry. And that's what I think Team Kraken did really well there. They went for the gold miner. They forced G2 to respond. G2 had to come to them and put themselves in an awkward team fight position. And you saw it did not play very well into G2's favor. They just don't have the damage right now to play full, drawn-out team fights. And if Team Kraken can continue to pressure gold miner, and when Kraken spawns, pressure Kraken before maybe Hundor hits the build that he wants, that's a really good way of forcing CP Gwen into an uncomfortable position.
Look at the control now that Team Kraken do have over the jungle. They're even going to start this Crystal Sentry up as well. Dark Potato hasn't managed to use that from Hell's Heart at all this game. This is quite worrying from G2, but we know Hundor is going to be able to scale up as well.
Why would you want to? Like, why would you ever want to use from Hell's Heart is the problem, because you have a Gwen who's not supposed to be a team fight burster. She is a ranged anti-team fight carry. He's going to be using from Hell's Heart defensively most of the time this game. He's going to be using it to save Gwen from Rona jumping in, using it to try and prevent Mr. Dog looking for those big trespasses. So I think it's probably better for G2 if they just avoid fights. They want to scale up. You know, you've got the Clockwork coming out on Hundor now. That's two items that are absolutely core. Mr. Dog runs in, tries to get onto Dark Potato.
Pulls him back with the Torment. Dark Potato's going to be all right, though. The Vanguard from Keanu is going to save him. Now, Team Kraken, where's the game plan from them? What do they actually need to do to set up? Because Mr. Dog, if he gets a couple of chains, he can then jump in with the trespass, but the problem is the disengage potential, like you mentioned, from Keanu, even with that gauntlet to disengage, and with that from Hell's Heart as well, is going to be quite an unstoppable force, in all honesty. Although Team Kraken marching forwards now, it's going to be a lot of damage straight onto Dark Potato. He's sustaining up. There comes the gauntlet. It's going to get laid down, but already Dark Potato is going to fall. That Grievous Wound's just not helping him whatsoever. Nice stun onto Mua, but Keanu's going extremely low. Trespass to get the stun. Mr. Dog leaps forward, and Babalo will be able to take the kill.
No fountain even needed by Team Kraken. I think G2 made a mistake there. Don't team fight. Just run away. Just run away. If they make an engage, you peel back and run away. This has been really, really good from Team Kraken, though. This is fantastic from Team Kraken. They basically are able to just force the issue. They get another turret from it. They can potentially go and rotate to Gold Mine, which is almost full. This is exactly what they need to do to shut down a risky pick of a CP Gwen. If you play CP Gwen, you need to be getting towards 15 minutes and then you're coming online. Team Kraken saying, we're not going to let you get there. We're going to take huge amounts of global gold. We're going to item spike way before you, and then we're going to look to engage fights.
Oh, there's Mua engaging on his own in the sidelines. Wrong place, wrong time. Aces High will get used, but Team Kraken are going to use that fountain as well to heal themselves up. Bit of a split decision there from Team Kraken. 2 went to Dark Potato, and only 1 went to Keanu and Hundor.
So you can see where priorities lie for Mua. Prioritizing journey boots over anything in terms of forms of defense. He's looking for the pure movement speed, resetting that movement speed to get on top of the Gwen. They're going to go in without Fountain. This is a risky play.
Risky play. There's the trespass. Mua gets on the back line. Hundor still trying to kite back. Red Mist gets opened up as well. Dark Potato going very low. Launches the surfboard. Can't quite connect. And that'll be Babalo actually taking him off the fold. And now Hundor still trying to kite back. Keanu should be able to escape here, although Mua just jumps over the wall. He's isolated himself. That buckshot does a lot of damage. Not as much as Mua, though, as he follows himself up. Keanu is going to fall as well. That'll be Babalo with 2 extra kills on the board. Crystal Sentry down as well, only to 1 life.
Yeah, again, we're just not at the... it feels like I'm going to be repeating the same tune over and over again. You're not at a point where you want to fight with G2, but Team Kraken are doing an excellent job of forcing the issue. This is how you deal with later game scaling compositions. You say, you've got to come to Gold Mine or we're going to take it. You've got to come to the turret to defend it or we're going to take it. You know, and G2 are feeling that they have to respond because they're going to lose too much global gold. They are almost 10,000 gold down at this point in time. And that is mainly from just that global gold advantage that Team Kraken have taken because they know they have an earlier teamfight composition. They know G2 don't want to get anywhere near them. So they just say, well, if you don't, we're going to take all of that standing gold off the map and we're going to make your lives hell.
Well, they know their strengths and they're playing to them as well. G2 did win that game last time, but it was off the back of Hondor stealing that Kraken. It did look like a Team Kraken game to start off with.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the case. Maybe G2 gets the 15-minute mark. Maybe they get to the 18-minute mark and say, okay, actually, we're going to come back in this fight, and we're going to make Hondor the king of the carries.
Yeah, Hondor needs Broken Myth to actually start doing some damage here. He needs that penetration to get through. The Aegis picked up by Mua. Obviously, you've got some shielding coming out from Mr. Dog as well. They are tanking these buckshots in the front line with little care for realistically how much damage they're doing. It's like a tickle from Hondor. He's tickling them every 4 seconds or so. And it's just not enough to ward Team Kraken away from these fights.
Off spawn, taking that sentry, 12 minutes in. That is going to be eliminated. Team Kraken pushing their way through G2's jungle. Like you said, those buckshots, they are landing, but the problem is, Mua's got shielding at this point, and it's just shrugging it off. And even the sustain coming out from the Serpent's Mask, that damage is there, but it's not sticking.
Oh, Hondor managed to dodge a hook out there. Also, you've got to remember that the Serpent's Mask from, like you said, Mua, you literally just mentioned it. It helps alleviate some of that poke from the Gwen. You're just able to sustain up off the lane minions, sustain up off the jungle minions. I mean, Rona just gets so much health back so quickly. You need to be having impact every time you're landing one of those buckshots. Hondor now picks up his Broken Myth. Suddenly you're going to start to see a little bit more damage coming through. But one more item is absolutely necessary to make this CP Gwen come online. And Mua has just picked up a Shiver Steel. With that Journey Boots prioritization, he's almost at full build at this point in time. He's going to look to run down Hondor and absolutely crush him in these team fights.
Has got the infusion sitting and waiting in his inventory too. Now, if you even look at the CS differential also, you can see how much they prioritized on Mua. He's 143 to Hondor's 119. That's all through the jungle minions that they've just been able to steal away because there's nothing that G2 can do. And even the vision littered, the scout traps littered across the map. Team Kraken is to be able to secure their 3rd gold miner in a row. And that'll just net them almost a 10,000 gold lead. And Kraken's going to be coming up very shortly, and it's about to join, it feels, to Team Kraken.
Yeah, they have got complete control of the center of the map. G2, like we said, can't team fight. They can't get vision down. They can't check the center of the map, and it's all Team Kraken's game at this point in time. Very little, I think, that G2 can do apart from just wait and hope for Team Kraken to overextend.
Well, Hondor's overextending a little bit. Buckshot to slow Babala down. That's going to be a Torment onto Dark Potato. There's the Trespass. The sun comes through. Red Blades gets opened up as well. Fountain from Keanu keeps himself alive. Nice gauntlet. Double stun, actually, in fact, straight onto Mua, but he's still alive. Walks back into the gauntlet wall to try and get through it. Mr. Dog popping those ward treads. This is actually really good for G2. There's the Buckshot to find the kill on to Mr. Dog. Ends up going down, but Dark Potato taking a lot of damage. Healing up with the Poison Shiv. It does manage to escape. Jumps over the wall. Babala using that trampoline to escape as well. G2, they do find one fight and secure their first kill in 14 minutes.
Yeah, that's a big ask for G2, but they actually are in buckshot range here. Looks like Mount Waba's going to go back in.
Mount Waba's going to go straight back in. Look at that damage onto Hondor. That shielding from the Vanguard's there, but the Aces High did land, and that'll be G2 securing themselves a 2nd kill.
Oh, slowly crawling back like they did in the previous game. Mua did land a massive amount of damage onto Hondor there. You can see how much it's going to hurt if Mua can get on top of Hondor. That was just a perfect combination of many events that allowed G2 to come back from what was seemingly a lost situation. Keanu is so good on Arden. I can't really explain how good he is on Arden, but he was always known in the European scene as having an incredible Arden. People often banned it against him, you know, over the last couple of updates. You're seeing it with these gauntlets. He's been so good with them. Hasn't really got himself towards an Echo. I think Echo would be the next item to provide a very difficult area of ground for Team Kraken to search for team fights.
Now Hondor is starting to stack up now. He's possibly looking for another Shatterglass here. Has got the infusion still ticking also. Like you mentioned, they're using their ultimates in more of a defensive manner. And that was Team Kraken, you could say, overextending a little bit there. They dove straight into the base. The turret wasn't even down, and Dark Potato just sustained so much off of that Poison Shiv, wasn't able to do as much damage as they'd hoped, and that'll be Mua on the sidelines getting not once, not twice, but 3 times did he get stunned in that engagement, and that just led him to do absolutely no damage. They're going to go in with the War Treads here. War Treads from G2 as well to try and get a bit of distance. We're moving in to try and just corner Keanu here. Nice triple buckshot. In fact, Aces High comes out as well. Does go a little bit wide.
Look at this. Mua's looking for a flank play here.
Oh, yes, he is. Dumped straight over. Nice Torment.
That's a brilliant
Trespass as well.
trespass.
That massive trespass on the 3-man stun. Dark Potato does use the boomerang. Finds one. Mr. Dog is going to chase off the captain, but his carries are just falling around him. Dark Potato gets taken out of the fight. And Keanu, the last member alive for G2.
Oh, so well executed for Team Kraken. Mr. Dog found the perfect opportunity. They flanked with Mua on the side lanes. Mr. Dog then used the Torment, found the Trespass, and because Hundo had previously used his Skedaddle, he wasn't able to get out of that situation. He was a sitting duck for this Rona to tear him apart. Let's take a look at that again. Here you go. That's the Torment, the Torment in. That's the Trespass. Hundo could do nothing about it. The Crucible didn't hit the Trespass, so they did get stunned. And the flank from the Rona, very, 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 very good.
G2 now not finding their comeback like they found in the last game. It isn't Roxamada versus Impunity. It's actually G2 versus Team Kraken.
Interesting.
Just to make sure everybody's aware. Kraken now on the board for Team Kraken, funnily enough. G2 now, they are forced back. Hundo hasn't got the best amount of damage to actually take down this Kraken. It's going to take them a fair while unless Dark Potato can start chomping at it as well. There's the War Treads into the fray. He's going to get used straight on top of Hundo. He's going to make his way back to the base, but look at the damage coming out from Mua. Ace's High goes a little bit wide as well. Crucible was used just in case that did land, but the base has been broken.
It's very difficult, I think, for G2 to take this fight because they're going to. Their team's not just going to go.
Oh, that Torment into the Trespass finds two. That just leads them to actually take